We're going to start out with the invocation and pledge. Giovanna's going to lead us with the pledge.
Dear Lord, thank you for bringing all of us together. Thank you for the City of Walton. Please look over the residents and council. Help us make great decisions to keep the city moving forward. Bless the mayor, even though he's not here today. And just keep us all in your watch. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we get a roll call, Giovanna?
Yes. Rose Beach. Here. Matt Brown.
Here.
Terry Courtney.
Here.
Amy Long.
Here.
Dan Martin. Sherry Snowden.
A couple announcements. On January 16th, City Hall will be closed for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Our caucus meeting will be on February 7th at 6:30 in council chambers. Our council meeting will be on Valentine's Day here at 7 p.m. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
Can't hear you, Matt.
Can you hear me now?
Try it again.
Hello? It's not the same?
Sounds the same.
Sounds the same?
Hello?
That one sounds like it's on. I'll speak loud.
You push it out from your chest.
Push it out. Rose, second.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Terry Courtney.
Yes.
Amy Long.
Yes.
I need approval of the minutes, and I'll combine them for December 6th, December 13th, and December 20th.
Motion.
Me and Terry.
Rose Beach.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Terry Courtney.
Yes.
Amy Long.
Yes.
We'd like to recognize Mr. Mike Parsons. Terry.
Where is Mr. Parsons hiding? Oh my God. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, sir. And so tonight we recognize Mr. Parsons. I have some of my cheaters on. So Mr. Parsons tonight is being honored and he's being given the key to the city. The key fell out of the bag, but I apologize. And unfortunately, the mayor couldn't be here tonight, so I stepped in. Mr. Parsons, Sergeant Mike Parsons, was hired by the city of Walton in May of 2000. This is when the city of Walton had our own police force, and it's my understanding that you are the last active police officer that was on the city's force, correct?
Correct.
So that we celebrate, if for those of you that remember when we actually had a police force. So again, Sergeant Parsons was hired by the city of Walton in May of 2000. Prior to that, he worked for about 18 months as a police officer for Transylvania University and Northern Kentucky University. October 2001, Sergeant Parsons was hired by the Sheriff's Office in the Walton merger. So when we merged together, Sergeant Parsons then joined Boone County's Sheriff's Office. July 2010, he was assigned to a traffic unit at the Sheriff's Office. January 2021, he was promoted to sergeant. And May 1st, 2022, retired from the Sheriff's Office. So tonight we honor Sergeant Mike Parsons. He not only gets the key to the city, but he gets a beautiful plaque signed by the mayor, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you for your service.
They all did.
I don't know if you want, did anybody get a picture? Can we get a picture? I think we should get a picture. No.
Yeah.
Next
Can we
week.
get your picture before you leave, just so that, okay, thank you. We do, yeah. I gave it.
Yeah, I think you should go up there, Terry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Duncan.
Yeah.
You're always the voice of reason. And if Ernie tells you to do something, you do it.
There we go.
So we're 10.
Yes.
You know this?
I think we should do it in front of the flag.
Okay, we'll do it.
Is this torture?
Are you as comfortable with pictures as I am?
No,
Usually I'm
not at
behind
all.
the camera.
Not at all.
I think it'd be nice to have his parents and his wife up with the picture.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay.
It's upside down, I'm just kidding.
Do it again.
No.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you all
Thank
very
you for
much.
being here. And thank you for your service.
Well, now we get the presentation from you, sir. This is the City of Walton audit of 2022.
All right. Good evening, my name is John Chamberlain. I'm a CPA and partner at Chamberlain Owing Company. We're a CPA firm in Arlington, Kentucky. And we have done the audit report for the City of Walton at June 30th, 2022. And we appreciate the opportunity to do the work for the City of Walton. Start off by thanking both Ben Harrison, your consulting accountant, and Giovanna and your staff at the city building who have done a fantastic job of
No, I
preparing
got-
your
I got
financial
mine.
records to be audited. And we'll get into that in a minute, but they've done a good job and everything was as we expected. We're pretty annoying when we're here, and so they got us everything we wanted in a timely manner. I've given you some financial, a slide packet to go over kind of the high points. Everybody should have one. It's pages there. Rose, do you have one?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure that nobody's lost here. So we gave what's called an unmodified opinion, meaning no modifications required in the opinion. And your financial statements are fairly stated as presented in the financial statements. That's the highest opinion that we give, and that's a good thing. That's what you want. As part of every governmental audit, we do a review of internal controls. We look at your riskiest assets, basically your cash assets, receivables, expenditures out the door, that type of thing, and make sure that you have appropriate segregation of duties in those controls. And we found no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal controls. So that's good for a small organization.
Oh,
That means
yes.
you have the people in place
Put that on.
doing the right jobs to keep the
Because
public
we have
funds safe.
federal funds.
As part of every governmental audit, we do a review of compliance. So that would be compliance with your debt covenants, compliance with SURS requirements, your contributions to SURS, compliance with any KRS requirements, and we had no issues of non-compliance to report as well. And probably a good time just to go ahead and say that. Last year, you did have an issue of non-compliance with financial reporting, if you remember that, and you have taken the steps necessary to fix that this year. So I do want to compliment the city on that you've done a good job. We made one planned audit adjustment to government-wide financial statements, and that is to enter your SURS pension liability, and that's just something we do at all of our audit clients. And we did not have to make any audit adjustments in the funds, actually. Now, I think last year we stopped at 16 adjustments in the general fund alone. Probably make double that, somewhere in that range in the water and sewer fund. So that's why last year you got a comment saying you didn't have control of your financial statements, you have control over financial reporting. Because you hired Ben, because you put him in place to monthly go through your financials, create your financial reports, you no longer have that finding. Okay? okay? And that's a fantastic thing for the city of Walton. So give yourself a hand.
Good job, Ben.
Do the things necessary as a city to report your financials appropriately. And I applaud you because I've been standing up here stomping on the ground for about 3 years saying you need to do this. And I really do appreciate that. So we did issue a management letter, and the management letter comment basically says what I just said, that you took the steps necessary to make those changes. And we really applaud you for that. The financials themselves, the city in the general fund, the governmental funds, had about $2.9 million in cash at the end of the year. Cash and CDs increased about $1.2 million from 21 to 22. Almost 900,000 or 919,000 of that is from the federal government's ARPA funds, the American Recovery Plan Act. So you've got about 900,000 of federal funds that roll into the city. We actually deferred those revenues, meaning we didn't expend those funds. We got the cash in the door, but we put it on the balance sheet as a deferred revenue, meaning you haven't earned it yet. And when you spend it, you'll earn that revenue and recognize that as a revenue and as an expenditure. Rule of thumb for a small city like this is to have about 3 months of cash on hand to cover operating expenses. So 3 months of operating expenses worth of cash on hand. For Walton, that would be right about $480,000. Obviously, at $2.9 million, you almost 18 months of cash on hand. So the city's doing well as far as cash. In the water sewer fund, about $3.1 million, almost $3.2 million in cash. Increased about $74,000 from the prior year. Using the same rule of thumb for about 3 months worth of cash, you have about $500,000 in cash. Water sewer funds obviously operate a little differently because you might see depreciation funds, things like that. But again, $3.1 million in cash in the water sewer. Long-term liabilities, you only have, in the governmental activities, you really only have your compensated absences due employees as long-term debt. So you have just a very small amount of that each year. But you have the pension liabilities that you see that on that slide number 6. The long-term liabilities for the governmental activities at about $717,000, down from last year. If you remember, these SERS liabilities are measured at June 30th of the previous year, and one major aspect of calculating that SERS liability is what the stock market's doing, basically, because they have funds invested in the market. So when the market's performing very well, your fund liability is actually less. So you see there at June 30, 2021, the market was performing very well. So your 22 liability is lower than it was in 2021. Now, if you remember back 6-7 months from now, from today, in June of 2022, the market was terrible. And so next year, that number is going to balloon right back up to where it was. If I was a betting man, I would bet the over on that. The water sewer fund, long-term liabilities, this is slide 7. The water sewer fund liabilities, the red are your long-term debt, decreased about $167,000 from the prior year. So you're paying that long-term debt for your water sewer, sewer plant debt that you have. That's down just over $1 million now. And again, there's a portion of that liability, the orange bar there, pension OPEB liabilities, that's attached to the water sewer fund as well for water sewer fund employees. Next slide, slide 8, is revenues versus expenditures. About $2 million in revenue in the general fund, right at $1.9 million in expenditures. And so excess of revenues over expenditures, about $153,000, almost $154,000 in the governmental funds. And it's probably important to point out here, there's a little red triangle on there. You did a lot of capital outlay this year because you had some excess expenditures. And you'll see later on in these slides, capital outlay ebbs and flows, goes up and down. based on some of your needs. And you spent about $300,000 in your park fund this year on some capital outlays for your park. And so that's, so that $300,000, the expenditures really have only been 1.6 million, minus that $300,000 for the park. So that's kind of a one-time expenditure. It's not an every year expenditure, but it's something the city needs to do. So you still were $150,000 over your expenditures. So revenues from all governmental funds for the year, total revenues right at $2 million. Licenses, that's up about 19% over the prior year. Licenses and permits, $826,000. Taxes about $803,000, and intergovernmental revenue about $414,000. Again, those ARPA funds aren't included as revenue; they're only as cash. So they're not running through as revenue this year.
So the license and permits, that's our insurance, right? Premium?
Yeah, insurance, premium tax, and any other taxes that you have that aren't property. Let's see, your license and permits, that was about the same as last year, down just slightly actually. And then taxes up almost 27% over the prior year. Intergovernmental revenue almost doubled the prior year. You did recognize about $150,000 of your ARPA funds, ARPA funds. You did recognize about $150,000 of that and about $50,000 in CARES Act. Expenditures by department in your governmental funds, right at $1.9 million. Again, that's up about 19% over the prior year. General government, right at $1 million, about 11% increase over the prior year. Street funds, about $236,000, down 37% over the prior year. You had a big number in there last year, best I remember. Public Works, right at about $200,000. And then there's that capital outlay of $415,000. Again, I remind you, about $300,000 that is for your park project. These next few slides take your various departments and just do a comparison over the last 6 years. And you can kind of see where you were and where you are now in your various departments. And you see general government, again, about 11% increase over the prior year. Public Works, just a slight decrease from the prior year. It always sits there right at about $200,000. Capital outlay, there's that ebb and flow that I was talking about on slide 13. Some years that you have a lot, some years you don't, based on what you need. Water and sewer fund expenditures, those stay very, very close to the same, right at about $2.1 million, just a slight decrease from the prior year. And then lastly, your debt service fund stays right at about $160,000 until that debt service is paid. We did issue what's called a governance letter. You should have a copy of that. Yvonne should provide you with that if you haven't received it, you will. And the governance letter is a letter that's required. I don't think you have it there. It's a letter that's required by our profession to those in charge of the city, the city council in this case. And it just allows us to communicate directly to you as a council. And in there, we pointed out that we did the one plan adjustment with no other adjustments, and then referenced the internal control, your internal control lacking or not having deficiencies. So that letter, you should get a copy of that. You've all also received copies of the financial statements, I think, in digital form, and so I do encourage you to read those. The management's discussion and analysis, I won't go through. Giovanna wanted me to read all 50 pages of it word for word, but I think what I'll do is I'll skip that and just encourage you to look through the financial statements. They should tie back to those slides that we presented, and really the management's discussion and analysis. I'll kind of give you a page number here. You can write this down, starting on page 5 through page 11. And that's it's a really good executive summary of the financial statements. And it's written in mostly English. It's not all accounting English. It's actually words in there, not just numbers. And it is a good executive summary of the financial statements. It's comparative with last year, and so you can see some of the changes. So I do encourage you as a city council, It is your fiduciary responsibility to understand how these things work for your city, and so I do encourage you to get into those financial statements and review. Any questions, anything that I can answer?
John, is there a deadline on when council needs to approve the audit?
I don't have any kind of recommendation. I don't have any kind of requirement for you to approve my audit. That would be your, that would be.
Well, I thought since we had federal funds that they would require it.
The federal funds, your federal funds are below the reporting threshold.
Okay.
Based on expenditure. You received more than $750, but you didn't expend. If there were federal fund requirements, yeah, then there would be.
Okay.
Is that financial report that you're going through, is that available for scrutiny?
Once it is approved, it'll be on the website, correct? I can't-
It's
Typically-
You can always get a copy from City Hall.
They put it on the city's website.
I see, the whole thing?
Yeah, all 46 pages.
Good.
And you can put the slides on if you want to as well.
Okay.
Some cities do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And a side thank you to our county.
Absolutely.
It's been a long time coming.
Thank you very much.
Do we have any citizen comments? I know you got something for us. All right, Major Bill Mark.
It's a busy night tonight. Oh, it's starting to get off with a bang, aren't you? I've given my monthly report to council for the record. For the audience, there was 1,040 law enforcement events handled in the city of Walton by the sheriff's office in the month of December 2022. Among them, deputies handled 6 911 hang-ups, responded to 28 alarm drops, handled 1 attempt to locate, 1 animal complaint. Deputies investigated 30 auto accidents. Given the weather at the end of December, that shouldn't come as any surprise. Deputies did 19 business checks, attempted to serve 38 civil or criminal summonses, handled 1 criminal mischief investigation. They responded to 14 domestics, 4 complaints of drunk individuals, 7 emotional crises, 2 juvenile trouble calls, assisted 15 motorist assists. They responded to 2 overdoses, 10 requests for information, conducted 470 spot checks on businesses, 19 suspicious activity reports. Deputies investigated 6 thefts, handled 29 traffic complaints. They conducted 67 traffic stops, did 2 vacation checks on residents' homes, handled 17 vehicle complaints, unlocked 13 cars for motorists, handled 6 one-person complaints, and all told, they issued 27 citations and arrested 14 individuals. Any questions I can answer for council?
I do not have any.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Chief?
Good evening. Council has a copy of my report, which does look a little different because this is more of an annual report for the entire year of 2022. But just a few of the statistics for the year. In the month of December, we responded to 152 EMS incidents and an additional 64 fire incidents. That was just for the month of December. Total combined throughout the year, there was 1,484 EMS incidents we responded to, throughout the district, and an additional 654 fire incidents, which made it a grand total of 2,138 incidents we responded to throughout the year of 2022. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's very close to 50% of those calls is within the city limits. A little bit of a nature code breakdown as far as our responses throughout the year. We responded to 19 structure fires, 18 vehicle fires, 7 carbon monoxide incidents, an additional 18 incidents involving propane and natural gas, 42 hazardous materials incidents, 160 motor vehicle crashes, 41 overdoses, and an additional 41 incidents that was a cardiac arrest or DOA type call. Any questions about any of those statistics in the report? Anyone? Just a couple other real quick announcements to update everybody what's going on with the fire department. Our full-time staffing is now at 9 per shift. That is 50% greater than what it was about 3 years ago. So we've been progressively increasing our staffing, and we now have 9 full-time personnel on shift. The end of December, Lieutenant Dwayne Baum retired officially after 22 years of dedicated service to the fire district. And since then, I have promoted 2 other people to the rank of lieutenants. Erin Bradley, she's been with Walton Fire District for 15 years. She is IFSAC certified as well as a fire EMS instructor and a paramedic. And Ryan Bailey was promoted to lieutenant as well. He's got 10 years of service with Walton Fire District. He's an EMT, and he has some specialty training in communications. So he takes care of all the radios and pagers and that kind of stuff. Somebody have any questions?
I do. Do you offer CPR training up at the firehouse?
Yeah, we do public CPR and first aid type training,
Is that once a month or by request or
just by request.
by request? So,
Anybody who's interested, whether it's an individual or a business, a group of people, they can contact Station 1 and just ask for Captain Steve Maselli and give you whatever information you need. And arrange it.
That's a good question.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Bogan. I don't see good news here yet.
Good evening, everybody. Got a pretty short report this month. On the bridge project, last month, we had some feedback from KYTC just to get confirmation from all the local utilities that either their facilities wouldn't be impacted by the project, or if there were, that there was a plan to address that either by the utility themselves or the contractor. I talked to Duke Energy and Cincinnati Bell they were the ones that had been in touch with previously. Duke has a gas service on the west side that will need to be relocated. They'll take care of that. It's in the, or it's there's a valve box that's in where the curb line will be replaced, so they'll take care of that. Cincinnati Bell's still looking at it. Back in their city. Looking forward to road projects this year, or road and sidewalk projects. Councilman Martin had noticed the place on Brookwood at the Dollar General on the far side of their driveway where the sidewalk cuts off and then resumes farther down. It was just one of those things that when the Dollar General was built, that wasn't caught in the review process. They were supposed to connect it to the end of their property line, and they just got missed. I've been in touch with Boone County Planning Commission. They said that even though the building's been completed for several years, there's no statute of limitations that we can go back and ask them to complete that. There is also a small section on the property next to that.
And I have a question, please. Beaver Road out where the church and the school is. Neighbors are concerned about the speed zone through there and a crosswalk because it is a school. The mayor had asked that I reach out to you.
Okay, yeah, so that would be, is the crosswalk gonna be between the existing church and the school? Okay. That, again, that'll have to go through the state because it's a state route, and usually their stance on that type of thing is if there's no stop on the street, there's no signal or stop signs or anything like that, that they're not really fond of putting in crosswalks on those because there is an expectation on the pedestrians point that the drivers will stop for them and they don't have to.
Right.
So, the request will ultimately go to District 6 and they will probably decline it.
Can you look into that? Because
Yeah.
even if there is maybe a blinking caution sign, something, signage where, because one, it's in a terrible S-curve, right? And so it's blinding, and then we have children frequently crossing the street there at 45 miles an hour.
Okay.
They should be able to put it in a school zone there, right?
They can. So, yeah, there would be a speed limit reduction during school hours, but they usually don't decrease that by more than 10 miles an hour. And they still would not really, the state will be strongly against putting a crosswalk there unless there is a stop controlled intersection, which there, as far as I know, there's no plans to do anything like that with the school's plans for this. But yeah, I'll get in touch with
Thank
them.
you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Monarch?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, my name is David Walton, I'm Mark Engineering, I'm with me, Darren Burns. The mayor asked us a while back to take a look at the wastewater treatment plant flows that are coming in as land capacity issues, so we put together some information here on this simple graph. If you look at the horizontal line at the bottom, that's a timeline, that's a year's worth of time, starting in July of 21 and extending to June of 22. And the vertical line, that's at 100,000 gallon increments. So if you look at the very top line, the blue line, the wastewater treatment plant has a capacity of 850,000 gallons a day. And if you jump down to the green line, that is the amount of flow that's going through your wastewater treatment plant now. So it's between 600,000 and 700,000 gallons a day. If you look below that, the crosshatch is a normal operating range that we normally see in treatment plants where they would operate somewhere between 50 and 65% capacity. So you guys are operating at about 75% capacity. It's not the end of the world, but it's just a point of fact that you're getting to the point at some point in time you need to consider expansion. And we did put on there a red line that shows the capacity, and why that's important is that once you reach that point, the regulatory agency, the Kentucky Division of Water, will look at you and say, you should consider doing that now. And in particular, when you have industries that come and look to locate here, if they see you're operating in that 85% range or more, that causes them to take a second look at maybe not show up here. So that's why that line is all there. So, like I said, as the mayor asked us to bring this information to you, we don't expect you to do any action on it.
remember 2 years ago, I was talking about this, and we were right about $2 million instead of $5 million, and so here we are at $5 million. That's
Yeah.
concerning. So hopefully the economy picks up and we move the other direction and we get closer to $2 million.
I don't know, COVID's really drove our industry crazy.
Right.
Just like it has everybody. And we are experiencing it on a regular basis. We look at cost estimates that we did a year ago, and we're raising those things about 25% and barely covering. Sometimes we cover, sometimes we don't. It's just, it's a different world for us. And I've been doing this for about 40 years, so I've never seen anything like this. It is what it is. We bid them, contractors give us good bids. We can't get material. A lot of the material that we order is a year away. We never used to see that. It used to be, what's it cost was the primary question. Now is, can we get it? And a lot of this stuff, I mean, we're experiencing treatment plants that we're building right now. We have 1 year lead periods on stuff that we'll order. There you go.
Thank you,
for
sir.
having us. Any other questions?
Yeah, we're already up above this little hash thing to where we need to be, and that's before this city, the senior living facility gets people in it, and the condos get built, and that, so we
That's
have
great.
that coming up right going into this that's already kind of over.
Yeah, that's probably want to put it on this chart for you. And
Right.
You guys know what you got coming up, so you can sort of estimate how fast you can get there in a hurry. There's room for about 450 homes. If you took 450 homes and looked at them as part of your system, that would drive you into that 85% range.
That's-
I know it's a lot of homes, but you take an industry that's a fairly large industry, you can multiply that situation.
Well, it's kind of twofold, right? You build it, they come, whether you want them or not. So that's one piece of it. Because when you talk about limited industry, if that's where we're sitting right now, which probably a lot of our constituents would prefer limited industry, less warehouses, and less farmland disappearing. So, but the red line is where there's a true concern, which, well, I shouldn't say true. That's when the government agency would step in and say, hey, you probably need to do something.
That's not what they say. Hey,
And
you
we're still under that, so close, but
approaching.
And
yes.
like if you have like a lot of rain, that affects how much stuff's in
Yeah,
there
we didn't
too,
put the
right?
peak numbers on here. It doesn't drive these charts out.
Right,
It's a little
right,
crazy,
right.
they're not realistic. But rainfall and infiltration and flow that you all get at the wastewater plant, you get it, everybody gets it, every home gets it, so it's not unique to your
Gotcha,
situation.
gotcha.
Just deal with it the best you can. I can tell you that if you were looking at a project, and you said, hey, let's start tomorrow, let's go after our financing tomorrow, how fast can you build it? It can take it 33 years to be built, more like 4. Because there's the time it takes to get the financing, time for the design period, regulatory approval, and eventual construction, and they're getting contractors bid on this. They can get the job, and then they move away because they know it's going to be a year before they get the components. They're probably looking at about 4 years, and that would be when the debt service would start. It would start before that, it would start when you bid.
But you're locking in a cost as soon as.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? Thank you for having us.
Thank you, sir.
The location of the sewer plant is down off of,
Stevenson Mill.
down at, and the location, a good location for the sewer plant. In other words, if you're at close to capacity or getting approaching, is another location in the future.
The mayor and I talked about it, he's looked at some spots and shown us on maps where he seems to think that there are places for a new sewer plant at some point in time. But there is room at the plant now for an expansion that would take you to about 1.3 million, and that might last you 30 or 40 or 50 years. We talked about that the last time we were here. It's like, this is it. And I said, Mayor, I don't think you'll be there for about, you and I won't see that be about 40 or 50 years. And he said, I agree with you on that. I believe that's right. Yes, but it is on, at least it's on his horizon, and he recognizes that at some point in time, that site is small and it will be overgrown with demand. But
Yeah.
maybe I'll.
The very size of it, looking at the Google map, it's a small facility.
It is very small. It's tight for the area that we're working in, but there is room to make the expansion that we're looking at. But that will be the last. Okay.
Did we repeat again, you said it was 250 houses?
Yes, sir.
And that's right now,
Yeah, let's do the statistical calculation.
How many is that part?
Depends on how much each house.
How many apartments are coming? Two?
Well, I don't know.
No, that we got sued over.
I think there's 120 there.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
They sent out a plan today, I might be able to tell you.
That was the last thing. All right. Next, we have municipal order number 2023-01, a municipal order appointing and approving Mayor Gabe Brown and Councilmember Sherry Snowden to the Planning and Development Service Council. That's it.
Yeah, if you all recall, part of our city is in Kenton County, and the Planning and Development Services oversees the operation of the Kenton County Planning Commission. And once a year, they require elected officials to be appointed, one to be a member of the council, and one to be an alternate member. And this municipal order would appoint and approve the mayor as the elected official member and Councilmember Sherry Snowden to be the alternate member. And you can approve this municipal order and that appointment, those appointments by motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Rose Beach,
Yes.
Matt Brown,
Yes.
Terry Courtney.
Yes.
Amy Long.
Yes.
Next, we have resolution number 2023-01, a resolution of the City of Walton, Kentucky, authorizing the City of Walton to participate in the retirement plans offered by Kentucky Public Employees Deferred Compensation Authority for the benefit of eligible employees.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And summary on this one is the Commonwealth of Kentucky provides various plans. The City of Walton employees participate in the KERS plan, which is part of this. Periodically, they require that we reapprove our participation in that plan. So this resolution would authorize the mayor to sign what they call a joinder agreement, which means we will continue our participation in the Public Employees Retirement Plan. So you can approve that by motion.
Motion.
Second.
Rose Beach,
Yes.
Matt Brown,
Yes.
Terry Courtney.
Yes.
Amy Long.
Pretty
Yes.
much right.
It's pretty much a no-brainer. I'll explain.
Next, we have resolution number 2023-02, a resolution of the City of Walton, Kentucky, accepting the reappointment of Marcus Carey, Darrell Cummins, Robert Sanders, Tom Quirk, Bryce Rhodes, and Jack Westwood, and the appointment of James Dady as members of the Northern Kentucky Regional Ethics Authority Enforcement Committee for a 2-year term commencing on February 1, 2023, and expiring on January 31st, 2025.
And by further summary on this, our code of ethics is administered by this regional ethics authority. And each of the participating agencies, the counties and the cities, have appointments that are staggered. And none of these are our appointments. These are appointments from other agencies. But the agreement that this thing operates under requires all of the agencies to approve all of the members, whether they're from your city or not. So you can approve that by motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Rose Beach,
Yes.
Matt Brown,
Yes.
Terry Courtney.
Yes.
Amy Long.
Yes.
Council comments, Rose? Amy?
I just thank y'all for letting me come and represent you, and I look forward to learning a lot more stuff and being able to do better by everybody.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Congrats. Terry? Ms. Terry?
I've actually sent the mayor an email tonight as a follow-up, as we have a contractor who's still living down at the lake. Do you know any information, Mr. Duncan, on when?
I do not. I saw your email, though.
Okay, because
the mayor's continued to say he was gonna be out by the end of December.
Yeah.
So we were gonna he was supposed to be out by last weekend. I'm hearing today.
Is he
he's
just
still-
not moving his things, or is he actually living there?
Well, from what John Wainwright shared with us, and you have internet and a disc TV out there, what do you call it?
Satellite dish?
Satellite, yeah. It appears that he's living there. So I think that that brings great liability to the city, and there should be movement on this sooner than later.
I'll talk to the mayor when he gets back, and if he wants me to evict him, we could start that.
Okay, I appreciate that. He didn't sign a lease agreement, so I don't know how we're going to evict him. But
You
he
don't
just
have to
needs-
have a lease agreement
Okay.
to have a rental arrangement. so.
Yeah, well, to me, I mean, the term I use is squatter. It's, the services were appreciated, the job's been done for months, it's time for him to go. City residents are permitted to live on city grounds and dispose of their waste and all that, so I,
Not if you're out of San Francisco.
right, and we're in Walton, Kentucky, and we're not doing that here, so thank you for that, sir.
Okay.
Oh, and just one other thing I want to bring to light. A citizen reached out regarding the use of the city vehicle, and it should be used for city purposes, it shouldn't be overnighting at the mayor's house. It shouldn't be a family vehicle for anyone that's employed by the city or holding a position. So I would like to propose, and we'll talk about this at caucus, where we potentially have a sign-out sheet for the vehicle. Unless there's city business that's out of town, the vehicle should be parked at City Hall every night. And so I'm just bringing that to everyone's attention, just realizing that the vehicle has been absent from City Hall for some time. Giovanna did state it's back out there tonight. I did have a conversation with the mayor, but just putting that in the forefront. And then the only other thing I'd like to state is that I appreciate my role here in being able to represent our taxpayers. I would ask that each of us, regardless of who brings an issue to us, if one of our citizens brings an issue, it's our job to bring it to council, regardless of where you live, who your neighbor is, who it concerns. So I would just ask that there's no pushback on citizens when they ask you to represent them. And that's all I have.
Very well. I don't have anything.
Motion
To adjourn, yeah.
To adjourn?
Yep, second.
Rose
All in
Beach?
favor, aye.
Or I work? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye. Oh, and thank you for everyone coming this evening.
And we can make a note, Terry.